The twin suns of Valara Prime burned low in the alien sky, casting long shadows across the ruins. Ethan Cole, a human explorer from the outer colonies, stepped carefully over cracked stone steps, his boots crunching on the dust of 1,000 years. The air was warm but carried a strange metallic taste, as if the planet itself remembered old battles. Ahead of him rose the shattered remains of an ancient temple, its tall spires leaning like tired giants after a long war. Valara Prime was not a friendly world. Its people avoided these ruins, whispering about curses and restless spirits. Ethan, however, didn't believe in curses. He believed in discoveries, and today, he had come for one in particular at the Galaxies discoveries. And today, he had come for one in particular at the come for one in particular at the come for one in particular at the comes in Isbin. Very heart of the temple, hidden behind collapsed walls and broken columns, stood the statue. It was unlike anything he had seen before. A perfect carving of a woman made of shimmering crystal. Her eyes were closed, her face calm, but there was a strange feeling about her. It was almost as if she was only pretending to be stone. The locals had warned him, "Do not touch the crystal maiden." They had said, "She is the guardian, and she sleeps for a reason." Ethan had smiled politely and promised to be careful, then set out with his gear anyway. Now, standing in front of the statue, he couldn't help but be impressed. The crystal caught the fading light of the suns and sent it scattering in tiny rainbows across the temple floor. Her hands rested gently in front of her, and a long gown of carved crystal flowed around her feet. She was beautiful in a way that made Ethan feel small. And of course, the thought crossed his mind, what would happen if he ignored the warning? He stepped closer, circling the statue, looking for cracks or signs of wear. There were none. The crystal was flawless. "This is art," he whispered to himself, "not a curse." Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was boredom, or maybe it was the explorer in him that wanted to see if the stories were true. Ethan reached out and lightly tapped her shoulder. Nothing happened. He laughed quietly, feeling foolish for expecting something dramatic. Then, with a grin, he poked her chest. Like a prank one might pull on a friend, the air in the room changed instantly. A low hum began to vibrate through the floor. Ethan froze, his grin fading. The statue's eyelids fluttered, slowly opening to reveal eyes that glowed with a soft blue light. Before he could react, her crystal fingers moved, curling gently but firmly around his hand. Her skin was warm, not cold like stone, but warm like living flesh. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. The statue leaned toward him, her lips parting slightly. When she spoke, the words were in a language he had never heard, yet somehow he understood them. "They are coming," she whispered, her voice soft but urgent. Then, without warning, the light in her eyes faded, her hand went limp, and she stood still once more. Ethan stumbled back, his mind racing. What had just happened? Had he imagined it? His suit's recorder had been running the whole time. He quickly checked the playback. The strange words were there, exactly as she had said them. Ethan activated his translator, watching as alien symbols flickered into human letters on his visor. The translation read, "They are coming from below." Below, he thought, glancing at the cracked floor of the temple. The sun's light was almost gone now, shadows deepening across the ruins. Somewhere far off, a deep rumble rolled through the ground. Ethan told himself it was just shifting stone, but it didn't feel like that. It felt alive, a faint movement. Caught his eye something in the corner of the temple, a shadow, but not cast by anything he could see. It moved along the wall as if it were alive, then vanished into the cracks. Ethan's skin prickled. Maybe the locals were right. Maybe there was more to this place than just old carvings. He looked back at the statue, but her eyes were closed again, her face frozen in calm silence. Yet, now he couldn't unsee it. That was no ordinary sculpture. Something about her was alive, and whatever she had warned him about was real. The wind outside picked up, carrying with it a strange whispering sound, like voices speaking from far. Underground, Ethan tightened his grip on his pack and backed away slowly. Part of him wanted to run, but another part, stronger, wanted to know the truth. Whatever they were, he was sure of one thing now. The Guardian of Valara Prime had just awakened. Ethan did not sleep that night. He stayed in his small camp just outside the temple ruins, replaying the recording over and over. The alien words echoed in his ears, each time sending a strange chill down his spine. "They are coming from below." The translation repeated. The more he listened, the more he wondered who they were, and why the Guardian had chosen to warn him. When dawn came, the sky was pale gold and quiet. Too quiet. The locals he had hired as guides were gone, their tents empty, their tracks leading away from the ruins. They had not even bothered to take payment. That alone told Ethan how frightened they were. Still, he could not leave, not now. The message had hooked something deep inside him. He packed his scanner, a portable light, and a data tablet, then returned to the temple. The statue stood as before, silent and perfect. But now, whenever Ethan looked at her, he saw her eyes open in his mind. He saw her fingers gripping his hand, felt her breath near his ear. The translator had done its job. But Ethan knew words could be twisted. He decided to scan the temple floor for hidden chambers. The scanner beeped quickly, showing hollow space beneath the statue. A staircase, buried under centuries of stone. Before he could explore further, he heard movement. Turning, he caught a glimpse of figures in the distance. They were tall, thin, their skin a pale shade of silver. They did not walk so much as glide over the broken ground. Ethan crouched, watching as they moved around the temple's edge. He thought they were other explorers, until one of them turned and looked straight at him. Its eyes were black, completely black, and its head tilted in an unnatural way. A feeling of pressure grew in his mind, as if invisible fingers were pushing against his thoughts. He stumbled back, breaking eye contact, and the pressure eased. When he looked again, the figures were gone. Shadows lingered where they had stood. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to leave, but curiosity kept him rooted to the spot. He switched on his recorder again and spoke into it. "If you are hearing this, something is moving under this planet," he said. "The Guardian statue is alive, and she says they're coming from below." He stopped recording and took a slow breath. Somewhere deep under his boots, the ground shifted. It wasn't a quake. It was breathing. The sound was faint but steady, like the slow inhale and exhale of a giant creature. Ethan looked back at the statue one last time. For just a second, he thought he saw her lips move. It might have been his imagination, but he swore she whispered one more word: "Run." The next day began with a strange light in the sky. A pale green glow shimmered along the horizon, even though the suns had not yet risen. Ethan stood at the temple entrance, staring at the color. It pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of the world. Something deep underground was stirring. He stepped inside the temple, drawn back to the statue. The air felt heavier here, warm and damp, as if the walls themselves were sweating. The Guardian stood in her usual place, but this time there was a faint crack running across her crystal cheek. Ethan reached out without thinking, brushing his fingers over it. The crack spread with a sound like breaking ice. Then, with a deep, low hum, the entire statue began to fracture. Shards of glowing crystal fell away in slow motion, clinking softly. As they hit the floor, from within the statue stepped a woman. Her skin pale silver with faint blue light beneath. Her hair flowed like strands of molten glass, and her eyes glowed with the same light as the sky outside. She looked at Ethan as if she had known him forever. "I am Liara," she said. Voice smooth but edged with urgency. Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but she raised a hand. "There is no time," she continued. "The prison is breaking. The things we buried will rise." Ethan blinked. "We?" he asked. Liara glanced toward the cracked floor beneath them. "Your kind and mine fought them once, long ago," she said. "But only the Guardians could keep them locked away." She took a step closer, her presence both calming and terrifying. "You woke me," she said. "That means the seal is weak, and you carry the mark." Ethan frowned, glancing down at his palm, to his shock. A faint blue symbol was glowing there, the exact shape of her hand. "What is this?" he demanded. "It means you are bound to the seal now," Liara said. "And if you fail, everything dies." Before Ethan could respond, the ground shuddered violently. From the cracks in the floor, thin streams of black mist curled upward, twisting into clawed shapes. Liara drew a blade from thin air, its edge shimmering with the same crystal light as her body. The shadows hissed and lunged. Ethan stumbled back as one of the creatures swiped at him, its claws passing through stone like it was paper. Lyra's blade cut it in half, the shadow vanishing in a burst of blue sparks. She turned to him, her eyes sharp. "This is only the beginning," she said. "If you stay, you fight. If you leave, the galaxy burns." Ethan's heart pounded. He had come here for history, for exploration. But now, he was part of something far older and far more dangerous. Somewhere in the darkness below, something massive roared, and the temple walls began to crack. The temple shook harder, dust and crystal shards raining from above. Liara grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him toward the far wall. A section of stone shifted at her touch, sliding open to reveal a narrow passage. "Move," she ordered, her voice low but urgent. Ethan followed her into the darkness, the sound of hissing shadows close behind. The tunnel sloped downward, the air growing colder with every step. Strange carvings lined the walls, lit faintly by the glow from Lyra's skin. Ethan slowed to look at them, his eyes widening. They showed humans and aliens standing side by side, fighting against black swirling shapes. "This happened before," Ethan whispered. Liara nodded without turning. "And it will happen again if we fail." The rumbling grew louder and small. Stones rolled across the floor under their feet. They emerged into a vast underground hall. Pillars of crystal rose into darkness, their surfaces cracked and glowing faintly. Beneath them, rivers of black mist slid like living water. From the mist, tall shadow creatures rose, their bodies twisting and stretching unnaturally. Lyra's blade flared to life, cutting down the first that charged. Ethan's pulse raced, his hands fumbling for the alien weapon he had picked up earlier. The gun felt warm in his grip, almost alive, when he pulled the trigger. It spat a bolt of white light that burned a hole straight through a shadow. The creature dissolved into sparks, its scream echoing like wind in a tunnel. Liara spared him a quick glance, a flicker of approval in her eyes. "You can fight them," she said. "Then the prophecy may be true." Ethan didn't have time to ask what prophecy she meant. More shadows poured from the mist, their claws scraping against the crystal floor. Every shot he fired tore through another, but for each one that fell, two more rose. Liara moved like a storm, her blade a blur of blue light. Still, the tide was pushing them back. Ethan's heel caught on a loose stone, and he almost fell into the black river. Liara grabbed his collar, yanking him upright. "Do not touch the mist," she warned. "It will take you." A deep, thunderous roar rolled through the chamber. Shaking the pillars, the shadows stopped moving, as if listening to something deeper below. Lyra's eyes narrowed, her voice tight. "They know we are here." The roar faded into a low rumble, echoing through the crystal hall like the sound of an endless drum. Ethan's breath came fast, his hands trembling from the fight. Liara stood still, listening to the silence that followed. Then, from the far end of the hall, footsteps approached. Ethan turned, raising his weapon. 4 alien soldiers emerged from the shadows, their armor gleaming silver in the faint light. The lead soldier stepped forward, removing his helmet. His face was sharp, his eyes glowing faintly blue. "We came as soon as we felt the seal weaken," he said, his voice calm but heavy with authority. Liara did not relax. "These halls are forbidden," she said coldly. "Only guardians may walk here." The soldier gave a small smile. "Then it is fortunate we have come to help you." Ethan lowered his weapon slightly, feeling a flicker of relief, but Lyra's grip on her blade tightened. "They are not here to help," she whispered without looking at him. Ethan frowned, unsure if she was being cautious or paranoid. The soldier's eyes shifted to Ethan's hand. "You carry the mark," he said, his tone suddenly sharper. "Give it to us." Ethan blinked in confusion. "Give what?" "The seal key," the soldier replied, stepping closer. "The Guardian has bound it to you, but it belongs to us." Ethan instinctively stepped back. The soldier's smile vanished, replaced by a cold expression. Without warning, the other soldiers raised their weapons, surrounding them. Lyra moved in front of Ethan, her blade raised. "You serve the shadows," she said, her voice low and dangerous. The soldier laughed, the sound echoing unnaturally in the chamber. "We serve the winning side," he replied. "And soon the shadows will rise again." The mist at the edge of the hall began to swirl faster. As if responding to his words, Ethan felt the mark on his palm heat up, a faint glow spreading from his skin. The soldier's eyes locked onto it hungrily. "That power is not yours, human," he said. "Hand it over or be taken." Lyra leaned close to Ethan, her voice quick and urgent. "Do not let them touch you," she said. "If they take the mark, the seal will never hold." Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon, his heart pounding in his ears. The soldiers moved in, their steps slow but certain. For a moment, no one breathed. Then all at once, the hall erupted into chaos. The first strike came from Lyra, her crystal blade cutting through the nearest soldier before he could fire. Ethan spun and fired his weapon, the blast knocking another soldier into the black mist. The moment the armor touched it, the mist swallowed him whole, leaving nothing behind. The lead soldier snarled, his voice twisting into something darker. "You cannot stop what is coming." The mist surged across the floor like a living tide, forcing Ethan and Lyra back toward a narrow passage. "Run," Lyra commanded, and they sprinted into the tunnel, their footsteps echoing through the stone. Behind them, the sound of claws scraping against crystal grew louder. The passage opened into a chamber unlike anything had seen. A massive gate stood in the center, made entirely of glowing blue crystal, its surface rippling like water. Symbols glowed faintly across its face, pulsing in rhythm with Ethan's mark. "This is the seal," Lyra said, her voice heavy with meaning. "The only thing keeping them inside." Ethan stepped closer, feeling the heat from the mark on his palm intensify. The closer he got, the more the gate reacted, its glow brightening as if recognizing him. "How do I close it?" he asked. Lyra hesitated, then said, "By giving it what it needs, life bound to the mark." Ethan's eyes widened. "You mean me?" Before she could answer, the lead soldier burst into the chamber, shadow mist pouring from his armor like smoke from a fire. His voice was no longer his own, a deep, rumbling growl that shook the walls. "Too late," the shadow voice said. "The prison opens tonight." Shadows spilled in behind him, dozens of them, their clawed forms flickering in and out of shape. Lyra moved to block them, her blade flashing in arcs of blue light. Ethan fired into the horde, every shot buying them only seconds. The gate behind him began to crack, thin lines of darkness spreading across its glowing surface. "They are breaking through," Lyra shouted. Ethan's hand burned like fire, now the mark blazing brighter than ever. He knew then, there was no one else, no other way. "Tell me what to do," he yelled. Lyra's eyes met his, sorrow and pride mixing in her gaze. "Place your hand on the seal," she said. "Don't let go, no matter what happens." Ethan nodded once, his heart hammering. The shadows roared as he turned and pressed his palm to the crystal. The moment Ethan's palm touched the seal, the chamber exploded with light. A wave of energy blasted outward, sending the shadows shrieking and clawing at the walls. The mark on his hand burned so hot it felt like his skin would melt. He clenched, his teeth refusing to pull away. Behind him, Lyra fought like a storm, her blade singing through the air. but the shadows kept coming, drawn to the light at the gate. Ethan felt something pushing into his mind, cold and smooth like oil. Voices whispered promises power, immortality, the ability to command entire worlds. All he had to do was let go. His knees buckled under the pressure, sweat running into his eyes. The glow from the seal began to merge with the glow from his hand. Lyra's voice cut through the noise, sharp and desperate. "Ethan, stay with me." He looked back at her, their eyes locking for what felt like a lifetime. Then the largest shadow yet rose from the mist, its form almost human but wrong in every way. It lunged toward Lyra, claws wide. Without thinking, Ethan poured everything into the seal. The crystal gate flared so bright it turned the entire chamber white. The shadows screamed, their forms tearing apart in the light. The giant one reached for Lyra, but dissolved inches from her. Ethan felt the energy pull him forward, drawing him into the crystal itself. His body began to fade, his outline breaking into shards of blue light. Lyra stepped toward him, her hand outstretched, but he shook his head, a faint smile on his face. "Keep them safe," he said, his voice echoing as if from far away. Then he was gone, the seal whole again, its glow steady and unbroken. Lyra stood in silence, the chamber now empty but for the hum of the sealed gate. The mark was gone from her hand, but the weight of his sacrifice remained. She turned and walked back into the tunnels, her steps slow but certain. The Guardian lived on, and so did the world, because a human had made the choice no one else could.